Ladies and gentlemen, a high-value man understands that the way he speaks reflects his inner world. His words and tone are not dictated by the emotions of the moment, nor does he allow external circumstances to shake his confidence. He speaks with a calm and steady presence, showing that he is in control of himself. This is the kind of energy that naturally draws people in, particularly women, because it signals strength, security, and self-assuredness. When a man lacks inner confidence, it shows in the way he speaks. He may talk too fast, try too hard to impress, or seek validation through excessive humor, bragging, or nervous energy. A high-value man, on the other hand, is comfortable with silence. He does not feel the need to fill every gap in conversation with meaningless chatter. He allows pauses to exist, letting his words settle, because he knows that true confidence does not come from speaking more, it comes from speaking with certainty. His voice is steady, measured, and free from desperation. He does not beg for attention or approval. Instead, he allows his presence to do the work. He does not try to win people over with exaggerated gestures or forced enthusiasm. He understands that people are drawn to those who carry themselves with a quiet, unshakable confidence. This kind of presence makes women feel at ease because they sense that they are in the company of someone who is stable and secure within himself. A man who speaks with calm confidence never rushes his words. He is not afraid to take his time. He does not fear silence because he knows that his value does not depend on entertaining others or keeping them engaged at all times. He is fully present in the moment, listening carefully and responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. This ability to remain composed under pressure is what separates him from the average man who lets emotions dictate his responses. Women are naturally attracted to a man who is not easily rattled. When he speaks, he does not stammer or hesitate out of nervousness. He does not constantly seek reassurance by asking, "Did that make sense?" or "Do you agree with me?" Instead, he states his thoughts clearly and directly. He does not need validation because he is already secure in what he believes. This self-assurance is incredibly attractive because it conveys a sense of certainty and leadership. Calm confidence is not arrogance. A high-value man does not dominate conversations just to show off his knowledge or status. He does not speak over others to assert control. Instead, he listens attentively, making those around him feel valued and respected. His confidence comes from a place of inner strength, not from a need to prove himself. He understands that true power is not in being the loudest voice in the room, but in having the presence that commands respect, even in silence. When a man carries himself with this kind of confidence, he naturally influences those around him. Women feel safe in his presence because he exudes stability. They do not sense insecurity or neediness from him. Instead, they recognize that he is a man who knows who he is, what he wants, and what he stands for. This kind of certainty is rare and deeply attractive. A high-value man never raises his voice out of frustration or insecurity. He does not resort to aggression to assert dominance. Instead, his calm tone conveys authority. He understands that true strength is displayed through composure, not through outbursts of emotion. Even in challenging situations, he remains level-headed, choosing his words carefully rather than reacting impulsively. His ability to stay composed in all situations makes him stand out. Whether he is facing rejection, criticism, or conflict, he does not let his emotions take over. If a woman challenges him or tests his confidence, he does not respond with defensiveness or insecurity. He remains unshaken, responding with grace and certainty. This ability to maintain composure in the face of adversity is what makes him truly attractive. A man who speaks with calm confidence also knows the power of his body language. He does not fidget, look around nervously, or avoid eye contact. His posture is relaxed but upright, signaling self-assurance. He maintains steady eye contact without being intimidating. He smiles naturally and warmly, not in an effort to seek approval, but because he is genuinely at ease. Every aspect of his presence, from his tone of voice to his facial expressions, reflects his inner stability. This type of communication is magnetic. Women are naturally drawn to men who make them feel secure. When a man speaks with calm confidence, he creates a space where others feel comfortable opening up. He is not just someone who talks, he is someone who listens, understands, and responds with intention. This level of presence makes him stand out in a world full of men who seek attention through force or desperation. A high-value man knows that confidence is not about having all the answers. He does not feel the need to pretend he knows everything. Instead, he is secure enough to admit when he does not know something without feeling insecure. His confidence comes from a deep understanding that his worth is not tied to what others think of him. This makes him incredibly attractive because he is authentic and unwavering in his self-belief. Ultimately, how a man speaks is a direct reflection of his mindset. If he is constantly seeking approval, it will show in his words, his tone, and his energy. If he is truly confident in himself, he will not feel the need to prove anything to anyone. His calm, steady voice will naturally draw others in. He will be seen as a leader, as someone who commands respect without demanding it. Speaking with calm confidence is not just about communication, it is about embodying a mindset of self-assurance. It is about knowing your worth and allowing that knowledge to guide your interactions. Women are naturally drawn to this kind of presence, not because it is rehearsed or performed, but because it is real. When a man speaks from a place of inner strength, he does not need to chase attention. It finds him. A high-value man understands that the way he listens is just as important as the way he speaks. In a world where many people talk just to be heard, he sets himself apart by mastering the art of listening. He does not interrupt. He does not wait impatiently for his turn to speak, and he does not listen just to respond. Instead, he listens to understand. This ability to give his full attention to someone makes him stand out, because true listening is rare. When he engages in conversation, he makes the other person feel valued, heard, and respected. Women, in particular, appreciate a man who is genuinely interested in what they have to say, rather than just waiting for an opportunity to impress them. His ability to listen comes from his self-confidence. He does not feel the need to dominate conversations or prove himself with excessive words. He knows that his worth is not determined by how much he speaks, but by the weight of the words he chooses to use. When he does speak, his words carry meaning. He does not ramble or talk aimlessly. He speaks deliberately, with intention and clarity. This makes every word he says more impactful. People listen to him because they know that when he speaks it is worth listening to. A high-value man does not engage in empty talk. He does not seek validation by constantly sharing stories to impress others. He does not speak just to fill silence, nor does he feel uncomfortable when moments of quiet arise in conversation. He understands that silence is not something to fear, but something to embrace. A man who is at peace with silence exudes confidence because he does not rely on constant external stimulation to feel comfortable. This makes him different from men who feel the need to talk incessantly just to keep the attention on themselves. When he listens, he does so with his full presence. He does not check his phone or let his mind wander. He maintains eye contact, nods subtly, and responds in a way that shows he is engaged. He asks thoughtful questions, not as a formality, but because he is genuinely curious about the other person's thoughts and experiences. This kind of attentiveness is rare, and it makes those who speak with him feel appreciated. Women, especially, notice this trait because they are used to men who talk over them, dismiss their thoughts, or listen only to respond with something about themselves. A high-value man stands apart because his listening is intentional and sincere. By choosing to speak deliberately, he avoids unnecessary drama or emotional outbursts. He does not react impulsively to situations or let emotions dictate his words. Instead, he takes a moment to process what he wants to say, ensuring that his words align with his values and intentions. This makes him appear composed, thoughtful, and intelligent. He does not waste time on gossip, negativity, or meaningless chatter. Every word he speaks serves a purpose, whether it is to inform, inspire, or express himself in a clear and meaningful way. When he does speak, he does so with a calm and steady tone. He does not raise his voice to dominate a conversation, nor does he mumble or speak in a way that lacks conviction. His words are well-paced and intentional. He understands that communication is not about being the loudest, but about being the most precise. Because of this, people respect him. Women find themselves drawn to him because his speech reflects his inner stability and control. He does not overshare or feel the need to explain himself unnecessarily. He knows that mystery is powerful and that not everything needs to be said. He keeps his words measured, ensuring that he speaks only when he has something meaningful to contribute. This makes his conversations more intriguing because people want to hear more from him. Unlike men who talk too much and give away everything about themselves too quickly, he maintains an air of depth and presence. His ability to listen more and speak deliberately also helps him avoid conflicts. He does not engage in unnecessary arguments or emotional debates. Instead, he listens carefully to different perspectives, processes the information, and responds with a well-thought-out reply. He is not easily provoked because he does not allow emotions to dictate his words. This ability to remain composed in conversations makes him even more respected. Women, in particular, admire a man who can navigate discussions with patience and wisdom rather than react impulsively. Another key trait of a high-value man is that he does not seek attention through excessive talking. He does not try to be the center of every conversation. Instead, he allows others to speak, listens attentively, and only adds value when necessary. This makes him more magnetic because his words become rare and valuable, rather than excessive and common. People are naturally drawn to those who do not feel the need to force their presence onto others, but instead command respect through their quiet confidence. A man who listens more and speaks deliberately creates deeper connections. When he engages in conversations, people feel truly heard and understood. Women, especially, feel more comfortable around him because they sense that he is not just waiting for his turn to talk, but is genuinely interested in them. This builds trust and attraction on a much deeper level than flashy words or forced charm ever could. His conversations are never rushed. He does not pressure himself to respond instantly or blurt out words just to keep a conversation going. He takes his time to think before he speaks, ensuring that his words align with his intentions. This makes his speech more powerful and persuasive. His presence in a conversation is undeniable because he carries himself with a composed, thoughtful demeanor. Ultimately, a high-value man does not just communicate, he connects. He listens with his full presence, speaks with precision, and makes those around him feel valued and respected. His ability to listen more and speak deliberately is what sets him apart from the average man who talks without thinking. Women appreciate this quality because it signals intelligence, emotional control, and genuine confidence. In a world full of noise, he stands out by choosing his words wisely and making every conversation meaningful. A high-value man understands that emotional composure is one of the most powerful traits he can possess. In a world filled with impulsive reactions and emotional volatility, his ability to remain calm and steady sets him apart. He does not allow external circumstances or the behavior of others to dictate his emotions. Instead, he maintains control over himself, responding to situations with thoughtfulness rather than reacting out of impulse. This self-mastery not only commands respect from those around him, but also makes him an anchor in both personal and professional relationships. Emotional composure is not about suppressing emotions or pretending to be indifferent. It is about recognizing emotions, understanding them, and choosing how to express them in a way that aligns with one's values and purpose. A high-value man does not let anger, frustration, or insecurity control his words or actions. He acknowledges these feelings but does not allow them to dictate his behavior. This level of self-awareness prevents him from making decisions he will later regret, and ensures that he remains grounded in all situations. One of the key reasons emotional composure is so attractive, particularly to women, is that it signals strength and stability. When a man can handle stressful or challenging situations without losing his cool, it shows that he is reliable and dependable. Women naturally gravitate toward men who provide a sense of security, and emotional composure is a significant part of that. A man who is easily rattled, who lashes out in anger, or who becomes defensive at the slightest challenge appears weak and unpredictable. On the other hand, a man who remains steady and collected, even under pressure, exudes an aura of confidence and control. This trait is especially important in relationships. Disagreements and misunderstandings are inevitable, but how a man handles them determines the strength of the relationship. A high-value man does not raise his voice, resort to insults, or become overly emotional when conflicts arise. Instead, he listens, processes the situation, and responds with clarity and calmness. He does not let his ego take over, nor does he allow his emotions to cloud his judgment. He understands that reacting impulsively often leads to regret, while remaining composed allows him to navigate difficult conversations with wisdom and maturity. Being emotionally composed also extends to how a man handles rejection or criticism. A man who is truly confident in himself does not crumble when he faces setbacks. Whether it is a woman who is not interested in him, a job opportunity that does not work out, or a harsh critique from someone else, he does not take it personally. He does not let external validation define his self-worth. Instead, he sees every challenge as an opportunity for growth and improvement. When a woman senses that a man is emotionally resilient and does not need her approval to feel valuable, she respects him more. This detachment from outcome allows him to approach life with a sense of ease and confidence. Emotional composure is also evident in how a man reacts to unexpected situations. Life is unpredictable, and things do not always go according to plan. A man who panics, complains, or blames others when things go wrong appears weak and lacking in leadership. On the other hand, a man who remains calm and finds solutions instead of dwelling on problems demonstrates his ability to handle adversity. This mindset makes him an asset in any situation, whether in business, friendships, or romantic relationships. Another crucial aspect of emotional composure is patience. A high-value man does not rush decisions, nor does he force things to happen before their time. He understands that success, whether in relationships, career, or personal growth, requires patience and persistence. He does not allow frustration to drive him into making hasty choices. Instead, he takes his time, evaluates situations logically, and moves forward with intention. This patience makes him more attractive because it shows that he is not desperate or impulsive, but instead operates from a place of long-term vision and control. His ability to remain composed also applies to how he handles disrespect or provocation. He does not let others pull him into unnecessary arguments or emotional battles. He knows that reacting aggressively to insults or challenges only lowers his own value. Instead, he responds with intelligence and grace, refusing to be drawn into negativity. He sets boundaries firmly, but does so without losing his temper. This ability to stay above petty conflicts makes him stand out as a leader, rather than just another man seeking to prove himself through emotional outbursts. A high-value man also practices emotional composure in his daily interactions. He does not engage in gossip, does not seek validation through emotional displays, and does not complain excessively about minor inconveniences. He understands that dwelling on negativity only drains his energy. Instead, he focuses on solutions, remains optimistic, and maintains a steady emotional state regardless of external circumstances. This unwavering mindset makes him someone that others respect and admire. Ultimately, emotional composure is a reflection of inner strength. It is the ability to navigate life with resilience, grace, and wisdom. A man who masters this quality does not let temporary emotions control him. He approaches every situation with a clear mind, ensuring that his actions align with his long-term goals and principles. Women and others in his life notice this about him, and it naturally elevates his presence, making him someone who stands apart from the average man who is ruled by fleeting emotions. A high-value man understands the importance of respect, not just for others, but most importantly for himself. He knows that true respect for women begins with a deep sense of self-respect. Without it, any attempt to be respectful toward others becomes weak, performative, or even manipulative. A man who respects himself operates from a place of confidence and integrity, which naturally extends to how he interacts with women. He does not seek approval or validation, nor does he compromise his values to please others. Instead, he maintains firm boundaries, holds himself to high standards, and ensures that the respect he gives is mutual. Respecting oneself first means understanding personal value. A man who truly respects himself does not tolerate mistreatment, whether from men or women. He does not allow himself to be walked over, manipulated, or taken for granted. He does not engage in relationships, romantic or otherwise, where he is constantly giving while receiving little in return. He understands that respect is not about sacrificing his needs to make others happy. It is about recognizing his own worth and ensuring that his relationships are built on mutual appreciation. A man who lacks self-respect often finds himself in situations where he overcompensates in an attempt to gain approval. He may try too hard to impress, always put others first at his own expense, or allow himself to be treated unfairly because he fears rejection. This is not true respect. It is self-neglect. Women can sense when a man lacks self-respect, and rather than appreciating him for his efforts, they often lose attraction. A man who does not respect himself first cannot command genuine respect from others. At the same time, respecting women is a fundamental trait of a high-value man. However, his respect is not rooted in desperation or a need to be liked. It comes from a place of strength. He treats women with kindness, dignity, and honesty, but never at the cost of his own self-worth. He does not place women on a pedestal, nor does he act as if their validation defines his identity. Instead, he sees them as equals, individuals worthy of respect, but also responsible for giving respect in return. A high-value man never seeks to control or manipulate women to gain power in a relationship. He does not engage in deceptive tactics, nor does he use flattery or excessive compliments to win favor. He is authentic in his interactions, recognizing that real respect means being honest and direct rather than trying to please or impress. Women are drawn to this because they see him as someone who is secure in himself, not someone who is bending over backward for approval. This self-respect also means that he is not afraid to walk away from situations that do not serve him. If a woman treats him poorly, plays games, or lacks appreciation for his efforts, he does not chase or try to prove his worth. He knows that his value is inherent and does not need external validation. He moves on without resentment, knowing that true respect cannot be one-sided. Additionally, self-respect influences the way a high-value man communicates. He speaks with confidence, not arrogance. He listens attentively, not out of obligation, but because he genuinely values meaningful conversation. He does not belittle or insult to assert dominance, nor does he tolerate disrespect from others. His tone, body language, and presence reflect his inner sense of worth, making his interactions naturally more impactful. Another key aspect of respecting oneself first is maintaining personal standards. A high-value man does not lower his expectations just to fit in or gain favor. He has clear boundaries regarding how he wants to be treated, what kind of relationships he allows into his life, and what behaviors he will and will not accept. If someone crosses those boundaries, he does not react emotionally or seek revenge. He simply enforces them with calm certainty. This quiet confidence makes him more attractive because it signals that he is not desperate or easily swayed by external influences. Furthermore, a man who respects himself does not engage in self-destructive behavior. He takes care of his body, mind, and emotions. He does not allow himself to be consumed by negativity, nor does he participate in relationships that drain him. He invests in his growth, ensuring that he continues to improve, not to prove anything to others, but because he values himself enough to strive for excellence. When a man respects himself first, his respect for women becomes more meaningful. He does not see respect as an obligation, but as a natural extension of his character. Women appreciate this because they feel valued without feeling that the man is seeking something in return. His respect is genuine, rooted in confidence, not weakness. He does not overcompensate with excessive compliments or unnecessary sacrifices. Instead, he treats women with kindness, fairness, and honesty, while maintaining his own sense of identity. Ultimately, the balance between self-respect and respect for women is what defines a truly high-value man. He is not afraid to be kind, but he is also not afraid to stand firm. He does not tolerate disrespect, nor does he dish it out. He moves through life with a quiet certainty, knowing that his worth is not determined by external validation, but by his own principles and actions. This inner strength is what makes him truly respected, admired, and naturally attractive to those around him. A high-value man understands that true leadership is not about control, but about influence. He does not seek to dominate or impose his will on others. Instead, he leads by example, embodying the qualities he wishes to see in the world. His actions speak louder than words, and because of this, people naturally respect and follow him. He does not demand loyalty or obedience, he earns it through his integrity, discipline, and consistency. Leading by example requires a deep understanding of personal responsibility. A man who embodies this principle does not expect others to do what he is unwilling to do himself. He holds himself to high standards, ensuring that his behavior aligns with his values. Whether in relationships, business, or friendships, he sets the tone through his own actions rather than through forceful direction. Those around him take notice, not because he commands them to, but because his presence inspires them to improve. Women in particular are drawn to men who lead in this way. A man who leads by example does not try to control his partner, dictate her actions, or impose his beliefs on her. Instead, he focuses on becoming the best version of himself, knowing that his strength, stability, and confidence will naturally encourage her to grow alongside him. He does not use manipulation or coercion to get what he wants. Rather, he cultivates an environment of trust and mutual respect. This is far more attractive than a man who feels the need to control or dominate. A high-value man also understands that leadership is about consistency. Anyone can give advice or make promises, but true leaders back up their words with action. If he values discipline, he demonstrates it through his daily habits. If he values honesty, he practices it in his conversations. If he wants respect, he first gives it. His consistency builds trust because people know that he does not just talk, he follows through. This principle applies strongly in relationships. A man who leads by example does not try to change his partner through force or pressure. Instead, he focuses on being a source of strength and inspiration. He does not demand respect, he earns it. He does not control his partner's choices, he shows through his own actions what it means to be a person of integrity. This approach creates a relationship based on mutual admiration rather than resentment or power struggles. Another important aspect of leading by example is emotional control. A high-value man does not allow emotions to dictate his behavior. He does not react impulsively to challenges or conflicts. Instead, he remains calm, collected, and rational. This emotional stability reassures those around him, especially in difficult situations. Women find security in a man who can handle pressure without losing control. His ability to stay composed, even when things are uncertain, is what makes him a natural leader. A man who leads by example also takes ownership of his life. He does not blame others for his failures, nor does he expect others to solve his problems. He takes full responsibility for his actions, decisions, and growth. This mindset makes him highly respected because people see that he does not make excuses. Instead, he finds solutions. He understands that true leadership is not about controlling others, but about mastering himself first. His leadership style also fosters independence in those around him. Instead of trying to control or micromanage, he encourages people to think for themselves, take responsibility, and grow on their own terms. He does not create followers, he inspires leaders. In relationships, this means that he supports his partner's goals and aspirations rather than restricting them. He wants to see her thrive, not because he forces it, but because his presence naturally encourages growth. A high-value man also leads through humility. He does not see leadership as a position of superiority, but as a responsibility. He understands that leading by example means constantly improving himself and learning from others. He does not need to prove his worth through dominance or control. His quiet confidence and self-assured nature speak for themselves. Ultimately, leading by example means embodying the principles one believes in. It is about taking responsibility, maintaining integrity, and inspiring others through action rather than force. A man who leads in this way earns genuine respect, creates meaningful relationships, and builds a life that others admire. Not because he demands it, but because his actions naturally command it. A high-value man understands that true self-worth comes from within, not from the validation of others. He does not rely on compliments, approval, or external recognition to feel valuable. Instead, he builds his confidence on a foundation of personal integrity, discipline, and self-respect. His worth is not dependent on how others perceive him, but on how he perceives himself. This mindset sets him apart, making him naturally attractive and respected by both men and women. Seeking validation is a trap that many fall into. When a man depends on external praise to feel good about himself, he gives away his power. His confidence becomes fragile, easily shaken by criticism or rejection. He may adjust his personality, suppress his true desires, or go out of his way to please others, all in an attempt to be liked. This kind of behavior does not earn genuine respect or admiration. It signals insecurity. People can sense when someone is trying too hard to be accepted, and rather than appreciating the effort, they often lose interest. A man who embodies self-worth, on the other hand, does not need constant reassurance. He does not change who he is to fit into someone else's expectations. He understands that not everyone will approve of him, and he is completely fine with that. His confidence is steady because it comes from knowing his own value, not from hoping others will recognize it. Women in particular are drawn to this quality because it signals strength, independence, and emotional stability. A man who does not seek validation appears more mysterious, intriguing, and self-assured, which naturally makes him more attractive. One of the key differences between embodying self-worth and seeking validation is how a man handles rejection. A man who depends on external approval will take rejection personally. He will see it as a reflection of his value and may react with frustration, self-doubt, or resentment. He might try to win the person over, proving his worth in a way that only pushes them further away. A man who embodies self-worth, however, sees rejection differently. He understands that rejection is not about his value as a person, but about compatibility, preferences, and timing. He does not need to convince anyone to like him. Instead, he moves forward without bitterness, knowing that his worth remains unchanged. Another sign of a man who truly embodies self-worth is that he sets boundaries. He does not allow others to take advantage of him, and he does not tolerate disrespect. He does not stay in situations or relationships that drain him just to avoid being alone. Instead, he prioritizes his well-being and chooses relationships that add value to his life. This ability to walk away from anything that does not serve him demonstrates true confidence and self. This mindset also affects how he communicates. A man who seeks validation may talk excessively about his achievements, trying to impress others. He may over-explain himself, looking for approval in every conversation. On the other hand, a man who embodies self-worth does not feel the need to prove himself. He speaks with confidence but without arrogance. He listens more than he talks, knowing that his value is not tied to how much attention he gets. His words carry more weight because he chooses them carefully, and he does not seek to fill silences with unnecessary chatter just to feel heard. Additionally, a man who values himself takes care of his mind and body. He does not seek validation through flashy possessions or superficial status symbols. While he may enjoy success, he does not let it define him. He focuses on self-improvement, not to impress others, but because he holds himself to a high standard. His fitness, personal growth, and mental clarity are not for show, they are for himself. A man with genuine self-worth also embraces solitude. He does not fear being alone because he enjoys his own company. He does not need a constant stream of social interactions or attention to feel valuable. Instead, he uses time alone to reflect, grow, and refine his purpose. This ability to be content by himself makes him even more attractive because it shows that he is self-sufficient and emotionally independent. One of the strongest signs of self-worth is the way a man treats others. He does not need to put others down to feel superior. He respects people without being overly eager to please. He gives without expecting anything in return, knowing that his kindness is an extension of his strength, not a tool for validation. Because he does not need approval, he does not act out of desperation. His relationships are built on genuine connection, not on a constant need for reassurance. Ultimately, embodying self-worth means living with confidence, integrity, and purpose. A man who truly values himself does not chase validation. He naturally commands respect by being secure in who he is. He does not need to prove his worth to anyone, because he already knows it. And that quiet, unshakable confidence is what sets him apart from the rest. In the end, a high-value man understands that his worth is not something to be given or taken away by others. It is something he carries within himself. He does not chase approval, nor does he allow rejection to define him. Instead, he moves through life with quiet confidence, knowing that his value is rooted in his actions, principles, and self-respect. By embodying self-worth rather than seeking validation, he commands respect effortlessly, attracts meaningful relationships, and lives a life of purpose and fulfillment. True confidence is not about proving anything to anyone. It is about knowing who you are and standing firmly in that truth.